library building is not something that all librarians get to do. And even those that do get to do that generally only do it once or twice in their entire careers. It's an amazing opportunity to both look towards the future and honor our past. The Buda Public Library has been blessed with a number of dedicated supporters and staff members, and today we're celebrating two people that were especially influential in our library's history and that we're honored to dedicate spaces to in our new library. So to take you back into the late 1980s, early 1990s, the board of directors of the Buda Public Library knew that they needed a new building. The library was a tiny 1,200 square foot metal building that just could not keep up with the community's love of reading and learning. The best option for a community at the time was a federal grant that would provide a one-to-one match for every dollar that was raised for the project. The hard part was that the community had to come up with the minimum of $100,000 to contribute to qualify for this grant. And in the midst of this project, the library's board of directors also needed to find a new librarian. Lucky for Buda past, present, and future, Santa Cruz Catholic Church and its pastor, Father Richard S. Teal, took an interest, and Marjorie E. Martinez took an interview. Father Teal grew up in Illinois and was ordained at Sacred Heart Church, Notre Dame in 1950. Expecting to be assigned to a lepers colony in Bangladesh, he was surprised to be sent to St. George's College in Chile, where he developed a love of teaching. Appropriately enough for a supporter of the library, Father Teal was also a poet. In the anthology to a collection of Father Teal's poems, an anthology of poems, the editor, Brother George Clawwitter, says, "When Father Richard Teal penned many of his gentle lyric poems, he was ministering to the Hispanic community in and around Austin, Texas. He brings to all his verses not only a practiced eye for details, the eye of an artist, but he also brings the caring soul of a professional priest who aches and rejoices in the ups and downs, comings and goings of those entrusted to him." Father Teal became the pastor of Santa Cruz Catholic Church in 1987 and presided over the church's 50th anniversary. Believing in the necessity of a new library and that it was a fitting memorial to the founder of the Holy Cross, Father Teal and his congregation committed to raising $75,000 for the project. They resolved, the parishioners of Santa Cruz Church wish to celebrate the 50th anniversary of their church here in Buda in a way that will both honor the past services of the Holy Cross community in Central Texas and benefit the entire Buda community. In honor of their commitment, the building was named the Basil Anthony Moreau Memorial Library. And in honor of his generous donation to the library, in honor of Father Teal's championing of the project and a generous donation to the library, a room was named in honor of his parents, Lucy and Lawrence Teal. Previously assigned to the staff office, it is now the name of our reading room, a quiet sitting space with a beautiful view of the library's yard. And so I'd like to take a moment, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to share a short memory or story of Father Teal, I'd like to give you the floor.
I just want to say I visited him this past summer with our kids at Holy Family, or where he's at right now, he's a retired priest. Our family knew him. He was more than just a priest to us. He saw us grow up. He wrote poems about us. So we have books that he had at the library that now we have at home. But he's just a wonderful man who we love.
Thank you. Does anyone else like to say something? And let's give her a round of applause. We're honored that we were able to keep that name with us.
Thank you.
Okay. So Marjorie Elaine Martinez grew up in Ohio, where she received a degree in Spanish from Ohio Northern University. After graduating, she began teaching Spanish to high school students and visited Mexico City on spring break, where she met Enrique Martinez and subsequently spent a lot of time and money on long-distance phone calls. Marjorie soon moved to Mexico City, where she and Mr. Martinez married and lived for 11 years. In the early 1980s, the family moved back to Central Texas. And after a few other positions, Marjorie found herself interviewing to be the librarian of the Buda Public Library. She reports that she asked the interviewers, "Are you sure that you want to buy a new or build a new library?" They were, so she accepted the position and got to work. In her profile, in People and Places in and around historic Buda, Marjorie is pictured with a book in one hand, due date stamp in the other hand, a bell in another hand, and a phone in the last. Yes, she was pictured with 4 hands, and I'm sure she felt like she needed them all and could use a couple more. While encouraged by her community and supported by a bevy of very committed volunteers, she was the only full-time staff member for years, and she took that role very seriously. Not only did she get that new library, which was quadruple the size of the previous one, she also led the library through a time of great change. A public library of the early 1990s is extremely different from the library she led in the early 2000s. Marjorie embraced the changing technologies, working to get grants to get internet access and public computers, and to digitize the library's catalog and user database, and even found time to go back to school, graduating with a Master of Library and Information Science in 1997. I was lucky enough to be hired by Marjorie in late 2006 and to learn from her for several years. She allowed me to assist her with projects where it probably would have been easier for her to just do it herself, but she let me help so I could learn the library basics. I always admired her drive to keep up with emerging technologies. I remember that she signed our library up for downloadable audiobooks back in the days when most people didn't even have smartphones. She knew that this was going to be a big deal and that we needed to get started on it as soon as possible, even if she had to drag her staff along, not necessarily kicking and screaming, but maybe complaining at least a little bit. She believed strongly in the power of education and compassion. She advised, don't waste a minute, get the most of every day and do your best in every way. Guidance that we would all be wise to take. The Marjorie E. Martinez area is one of the library's sitting areas with a beautiful view of the oak trees out front and a direct line of sight to many areas of the library as befitting a library director. I'd like to open up the floor for a moment for anyone who would like to share a memory of Marjorie. Yes, sir.
I'd like to say that it was my honor to serve with her in her time. The one thing that really struck me most about Marjorie was that she was a humble servant. She never took credit for anything and always credited her staff for the success of the library. And even in her last days, it was not about her, it was about what was going on in the library. Were things okay? Is everybody getting what they need? And I'll always remember that about her. She was just a very kind, humble, genuinely good servant to all the citizens.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah. Remember that 1,200 square foot building that had one computer? It had a bathroom way in the back and one little kitchenette area. And I remember walking in there as a 7th grader about a few years ago and being excited because my mom had become the director of the Buda Public Library. And I remember moving all those books to that little home off of 967 and then moving them back to the new building. What excitement it caused. And how wonderful it was to see such excitement in my mom's face. We should be excited of how this community has grown and what this building, this wonderful library means for the citizens of Buda into the future. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, would you like to say a few words?
I think you've heard enough from him today, but Melinda asked me to say a couple of things. I did not meet Father Teal. I think he left quite a legacy for us and things we benefit from, but I certainly met Marjorie Martinez. When I got here, I worked with Marjorie for like 14 years. And the best thing I can say about any person is they were genuine. She was a good person. I think if you keep things basic like that, and after Marjorie was a good person, and it was reflected through Melinda. I mean, she ran a library. I never had to worry about the library at all. I mean, I saw her every once in a while, everything was taken care of. The budget was immaculate. I mean, I never said the budget, perfect budget like that. And it's reflected through Melinda. She handles her budget just as well as Marjorie used to handle her budget. But she left quite a legacy through Melinda and through Martha. Martha, she left us the best children's library in this area. Let's give Martha. The two of them to run our library. We're very, very fortunate to have them in the library. But going further than that, we would not be in this building today, not with the library and the people on the library board. They provided the impetus for a project to build a new library to carry over to a city home and the rest of it. So the friends, the commission, everybody worked with that. And Eileen, when I first came to town, Eileen came and met me in my office. And it's like, she told me some things. I said, okay, just let her go right now, never see her again. I didn't get done when she wanted, and then when she came back in 2 more weeks, we started all over again. So she was very persistent, but she got me connected to the people we needed to talk with, and the city council and the mayor needed to work with to get a new library. But again, the Martha Martinez room, we're very proud and fortunate that you share Martha's name with us, and we'll cherish her legacy.
So in closing, I'd like to read the resolutions that were passed by our City Council back in December that moved these names over to the new library. First, I'd like to have Miss Eileen Altmiller. She is a former council member, former Friends of the Buda Library president, and I believe several other distinguished positions as well. And if you will give me one moment, I'm going to hand over this mic to you. So if you'll just kind of hold that up, I'll hold this.
Okay, great. This is a resolution. Is it on?
It's not on.
It's not on, okay.
It's for David.
Oh, okay. This is a resolution transferring the name of the staff office named after Lucy and Lawrence Teal at the Buda Public Library to the new Buda Public Library. Whereas Father Richard S. Teal was ordained at the Sacred Heart Church in the Order of the Holy Cross in 1950, and whereas Father Teal was the pastor of Santa Cruz Catholic Church in Buda from 1987 to 1999, and whereas under Father Teal's leadership, the congregation of Santa Cruz Catholic Church raised the majority of the funding for Buda Public Library's building that opened in 1993, and whereas Richard Teal personally made a generous contribution to the construction of the library and had a room named in honor of his parents, Lucy and Lawrence Teal, and whereas the City of Buda City Council wishes to transfer the naming of the office to the new Buda Public Library, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Buda. Section 1. The staff office at the Buda Public Library named after Lucy and Lawrence Teal will be transferred to the reading room at the new municipal Buda Public Library. In Section 2, the resolution shall become effective upon the date of its adoption.
Thank you, Eileen. And now I'd like to ask Mr. Patrick Martinez to come on up and share the resolution moving the name of the Marjorie E. Martinez Room over to our new library.
A resolution transferring the name of the reading room named after Marjorie E. Martinez at the Buda Public Library to the new Buda Public Library. Whereas Marjorie Martinez came to work at the Buda Public Library in July of 1989 after working for years as an educator in many capacities, and whereas Marjorie Martinez worked tirelessly to promote literacy and lifelong learning among the citizens of Buda and Hays County, and whereas Marjorie Martinez led the Buda Public Library into the 21st century through her acceptance and promotion of technology as a pathway to information, and whereas Marjorie Martinez served multiple roles as librarian, teacher, mentor, and friend to countless members of the community, and whereas the City of Buda City Council authorize the naming of the reading room per resolution number 100921-1 as the Marjorie E. Martinez Room, and whereas the City of Buda City Council wishes to transfer the naming of the reading room to the new Buda Public Library, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Buda, Section 1, the reading room at the Buda Public Library, named after Marjorie E. Martinez, will be transferred to the magazine area at the new Buda Public Library. Section 2, the resolution shall become effective upon the date of its adoption.
Thank y'all all so much for coming and joining us here for these room dedications today. If you have not seen them, yes ma'am. Actually, Father Laban, would you like to come up and say a few words? It's the current pastor of the Santa Cruz Catholic Church. And if you would, go ahead and hold on to that.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and it's so good to see you this morning. Thank you for being here. And this is such a beautiful facility that it's awesome. And it will serve the citizens of the city for a long time to come. Actually, it's a blessing. And I know that it took so much hard work. And it's so beautiful that here in the city of Buda that we really appreciate and honor those who have gone before us and who have made great sacrifices when Buda was much smaller, which really wasn't that long ago. So Father Teal was a Holy Cross priest who served in this very simple area, in a very simple way for a lot of years, and had a generous heart. And it's a hallmark of the Holy Cross Order, which administrates both Notre Dame University and St. Edward's University, learning, and love of learning and desire for God. So I'm so happy to know that we will be able to remember him, who is in retirement now at Notre Dame in Indiana. And he is doing okay. That along with him and so many other good people in the community who have worked so hard for what we have today. God bless you.
We have some council members that would like to say a few words. Yep. Sure.
I want to express a lot of gratitude to the staff and the folks that constructed it. We spent some time thanking them out there, but I'd like to also thank them here, but specifically for these dedications and the wonderful spaces that they'll be, that their names will be seen in, these reading rooms and the magazine area. The space is already wonderful. I think a lot of folks have walked and spent some time there. My wife and my family met some family friends, some church friends here, and just hung out with their kids and our kids and spent some time together, and really enjoyed it. 2 days later, we got a text from that family. They're in South Austin, and they said, "Hey, we're coming back to the Buda Library. You want to meet there?" And I said, "You'll have an awesome library in Austin. Do you want to come down here?" And they said, "We loved the Buda Library." So they came back down here, and it's just a wonderful place to gather, and I'm already seeing that. I'm already seeing how that's happening. The things that we had hoped, the things that y'all have put together to make a space for folks to gather, really is already happening. So I'm excited about that. I'm grateful for that, as I have 2 little girls who thoroughly enjoyed reading, or I read to them the writing contest winners' stories, just programs like this that foster a community of learning and a community that does these things together. So really, thank y'all for creating this space, not just it being built this way, but using it in such a way that fosters that community. Thank y'all.
All right, well, please make sure that y'all go visit these areas in the new library. They're both on the right-hand side as you walk in. The Marjorie Martinez room is marked on the limestone wall right outside the library's magazine area. And the Lucy and Lawrence Till room is in our back reading room in that back right-hand corner with the name marked on the focal blue wall. Thank y'all all so much for coming, and we look forward to making the future just as bright.